Dear residents of Pasir Ris, Punggol, GRC, and friends, and all other fellow Singaporeans, thank you for coming down tonight. Adding on to the introduction that he made earlier on to me, I just want to add on. Many friends have asked me, why do I choose to step on the side of the opposition? Stepping on the side of the opposition, you face a lot of obstacles. You face a lot of pressure. You probably also see many of your close friends will maybe keep a distance away from you. Well, my response to them was, it is okay. As long as I take this little step forward to speak up and stand up for our rights. And if I do not stand up myself, I cannot convince, I cannot even encourage many of the friends outside or around me to stand up and speak up for themselves. Let me ask, if you look around for the last few years, have your lifestyle actually improved? You know yourself for that. Now, I ask these questions. Being a first world countries, why are we so pathetic that we see so many old Singaporeans having an age of 60 and above, and they're still struggling. And they're still struggling to work very hard as cleaners. It is not uncommon to see many old folks going around to collect newspapers, scraps, tins, and all that kind of stuff. Do you think they do this for exercise? Let me tell you, they are earning a living for it, and they're really struggling. I ask these questions. If our ruling parties are paying a very high salaries to our civil service servant, why can't we extend our helping hand to these old folks and make their life more bearable? I also believe that once a civil service has been paying too high, too generously high, it will hinder their appetite to take risks. It will limit their desire to speak up for us. Why? Because of the fear of making a mistake. Because of the fear of giving up what they have. I saw around many of my friends in my neighborhoods as we do my walk around. I saw many people are struggling every day, rushing to work and struggling to pay their bills, which is endless. And all these bills, if you name it, you know you are paying for your housing, how very high housing costs. You pay as much as 20, 25 kind of loans to service that loans. You are faced with high medical expenses and costs. And you have faced a lot of costs coming out from sending your child to a preschool and all the way to the higher educations. Now all this add up to your cost of living, and it's very high. Now in every part around us, every corner around us, everything, you can see the governments are laying their hand in everywhere. of the business that you're doing, the land you own, the URA, coming from the HDB. Now, these are all major land suppliers. And they're in a position to control the price. They're in a position to make life easier, less stressful for all of us. But I don't see this coming. Are we all subject to heavy taxing? Now, talking about CPF. Now, CPF was actually set up for the very fundamental reasons for your retirement. It's a false saving for your retirements. It is a good scheme, basically making everybody pay a certain percentage of their income back into the funds for your retirements. And it also promised that the CPF will return to us at the age of 55. That was the original promise. But then, this promise was broken somehow. What happened now? When you reach 55, if you have a sum that is below the minimum sum, you're okay. Anything that's above, you can actually withdraw. But let me ask you, not many people is able to achieve the minimum sum. And even so, the minimum sum is increasing quite frequently because they had to catch up with the pace of inflation. Now, can I ask, one of the reasons that are given to us was at the age of 55, why they do not allow us to withdraw our funds in full as promised by the intention of CPF that was set up. The reason given was because we do not know how to manage our funds at the age of 55. So at the age of 55, we all have become an idiot. All right? Now, we have been through all our educations at our time. And we have get involved with a lot of our insurance plan and policy like that. We have a lot of exposure. And then suddenly we do not know how to manage our money. You ask yourself this question, is it fair? There's some people, minority of them, who doesn't know how to manage. Because of those, we have been punished. The majority of us are punished for the small minority of them. And again, I ask, the small minority of them that do not know how to manage, with this really some things, there may be some kind of problem with them. The real problem, did we actually look into that? Rather than just say that they do not know how to manage the fund. Now, something that is mirrored very closely with this CPF is the Housing Development Board, the HDB price. Now, when CPF was set up, it was meant for a retirement that I mentioned earlier. But along the time, it have actually open access for you to use the fund to buy your public housing. And what happened to that? When you have easily available credits available, everybody will understand your public housing will definitely, the price will definitely increase. Well, you may be very happy about increasing price because it's kind of an asset enhancement. But you have to realize one thing. Are you able to cash out? When you want to retire, you still need a roof over your head. And where do you go? You need to buy another house, or you need to rent another house. Where would your profit that you make end up with? it ends up back into the market. Now worse is your children. Your children ends up paying high price, high HDB price. Can they come into this situation? I want you all to think about these vicious cycles. Now, if you realize the CPF, the interest that I paid to you on your ordinary account is 2.5%, right? Now, our CPF fund has been used by the ruling party for investment, and the investment is reaping a much higher returns. But however, these returns are not be fairly cascaded down back to the stakeholders, which is us. We own the CPF funds. Is it fair? This is the question we need to ask. You may ask, well, you have higher interest on the special account, on your MediSave account, but can I ask you one thing? You end up paying for all those back into because the cost of living is high. Where it goes to? It goes back to your cost of living. It just flowed out. So I hope you can connect this relationship between the CPF and housing. Now, medical treatments. You know, medical treatments for chronic diseases or illness, it is very costly. Just to take one CT scanning or MRI scanning, these two treatments, it is actually beyond the reach of many people. And all those, even after subsidized, it will come to thousands of dollars without treatment. It is just only doing the scan. Now, do you know, when you have illness, chronic illness, and when you go and seek treatment, do you know that you cannot use fully of the money in your CPF MediSave? There's a cap that you can use. Anything above the cap, you pay from your pocket. Now I ask, the CPF MediSave is your money. Am I right? Now let me relate to you one story. It is actually, I've got this posting from a gentleman. It come out that I want to share with all of you, and his name is called Mr. Stephen Chu, and it's about his family experience that he had. Now, Mr. Stephen Chu, if you are hearing this speech is for you. Now I'm going to quote what he said. Let's talk about the real life issue other than your clean government that makes Singapore a peaceful, harmonious, and stable country. My wife passed away 5 months ago. I don't know which is the date specific, but it was 5 months ago. Upon her death, there was a balance of more than 40K in her medical costs, 40K in her MediSave account. She has suffered from cancer for more than 2 years, and the medical costs shot the roof, even though she was a subsidized patient. We had to fork out tens of thousands of dollars when our government policy said there is a limit as to how much she could utilize from her MediSave account. Stephen Chu raised a question. Why do we need to set aside large sum of our money for our medical needs when we can't use them even from terminal illness? This is one scenario when we ask ourselves whether this ruling party is really taking care of us or themselves. That is his message. Now I pause for a while here. Now, when the ruling parties set up any consideration of setting up any policy, they do give due consideration to certain circumstances. But however, for these particular circumstances, he was not given help. Now, I want to ask one thing. You saw this statement, this slogan everywhere around the road from the ruling party. You see this statement. It is still with you, for Singapore. This case, definitely, I don't see it. Education. Now, our young children, from the time they reach 18 months onwards, they start to receive their education in their childcare or kindergartens. As they move along with age, they're subject to very early screening. Now, this process of early screening is adding enormous stress on our children. Now, as you see, the early young, some of them are actually intelligent, but they are intelligent in their own ways. Not necessarily on the academic side, but maybe on music, on sports, or maybe on arts. So this subject of screening at the early age is in a way limiting the potential to develop them to the fullest. This is one aspect where I see that it is a form of discrimination. On the other aspect, when the child go to secondary schools, what happened here is that we heard from our minister saying that all schools are good. All schools are good schools. But we all know not every school have the same amount of resources and attention focused on the child. So some receive more attention, some schools give lesser attention. I don't think this is fair. As I mentioned earlier, there are some children are late developers as well. What about teachers? Now, the teachers are really heavily stressed out with a lot of they have a lot of administrative works. They have a lot of other duties that give them very little time for an engagement with the children. So we must also give due consideration to the teachers who is doing the best. Now, if you recall in your early years of education, there is always this statement who says that, this kind of value, the value statement in the schools, lifelong learning, respect, independence, freedom. If you can recall all those statements, right, in the schools. If that is the case, then we should not have discrimination. We should give them the fullest support to develop their potential to the fullest. Now, talking about the population, 6.9 million. I'm not going to go into the in-depth, my other colleague will cover, but I just want to say something here. The issue here is about addressing aging population, and the issue here is about addressing when the time comes, there are too many old people and there are not enough young people to look after the old. And as well, we need the working population to push up the economy. There's no argument on that. But is the solution of true foreign influx is the only solution to this problem? Earlier on, I touched on the other aspect of high cost of living that we all face with. Now, can I ask, if you have such a high cost of living around us, can a young married couples, after working so hard, getting tired, you think they go back home, they have all the worries on the bill, they have all the worries for tomorrow, you think they have the heart to think about making babies? You ask yourself that. Think about it. So what happened? Less baby. Now, the root cause of the problem is about addressing this social problem, rather than applying what they call the shortcut way or the quick fix way through foreign influx. If you want a foundation that is strong, you build on those social foundations, and you can build your flats tall and high. Our university is one of the top best, ranking among the top 50s. Isn't it that produce enough talents to meet the industrial needs? Think about it. We're the top 50 ranking. Maybe there's some extent that we cannot able to meet the requirements. Then we need the foreign talent to help us. We need investors to help us. We need foreign workers to help us in those industries that we're short of workers. But surely, our university is capable of producing the talent that we need. If it's not, then something is wrong with our education. Now, the ruling party is telling the voters, by voting for opposition, you will bankrupt our countries. You heard that very often. Now, do you know the government is giving 36 billion of funds to foreigners, foreign students? And do you know the ruling party have over budget the YOG program by almost 300 millions. So, now you tell me, with the ruling party, or you call it pay and pay policies, who will go bankrupt first? It is me that will go bankrupt first. The common people at the ground will go bankrupt first. The ruling party feel the opposition had no standing on the policies. They are immune to our noise. They do not need opposition to check on them because they say they can check on themselves. This is like saying, you know, I set my own exam papers, I mark myself, and I grade myself. And the next moment, I start to realize I have got no more blank check. I have got no more blank check to issue. So I ask every citizen here tonight and tell your friends, do not issue your check blindly. Do not give a blank check. Make sure you know you issue the check is for what purpose and for what reason. And my message to the government, listen and feel the heartbeat of the people at the ground. Thank you.